Friends, as Professor M.P. Singh has already said, how federal studies have developed in India. But in fact, as a theory of federalism, what we find is that in 1789, for the first time, the United States of America adopted the federal system for its workers. So from that period onward, concern, studies, theories about the federalism started. Then in 1848, Switzerland became federal. So both these cases there was a little different, which gave rise to studies of federalism in different respects. In the case of United States of America, it was purely a territorial federalism. When we say territorial federalism, it means the concern was with the territory. Now, reasons was, of course, that earlier states which joined the United States of America, they wanted autonomy, they wanted shared sovereignty and all that. But concern was not cultural, social, ethnic, nationality, etc. It was purely a, what you call, a territorial concern. Whatever autonomy, whatever it is, that was decided. But when Switzerland adopted federalism, it became a concern of a different kind. Rather than a territorial federalism, it became what we call a multinational federalism. Because the Swiss people or the Swiss makers of the constitution, they thought that in the given multi-ethnic, multinational, multicultural societies, they're all fluid terms, you call them in any way. So that it allows ethnic, linguistic or religious minorities to develop their own identity. So from that perspective, they adopted the federal system. And therefore they started different studies and all that. But somehow, the writing of federalism in earlier years remained primarily limited to the understanding of territorial federalism. That means the concerns were minimum two sets of government, independent judiciary, division of powers. Well, actually most of the things what was considered was the researchers and all those types of things they were doing, and is the degree of centralization or decentralization in a particular country, what is the degree of centralization, decentralization, degree of economic integration, or character and composition of their central institutions, that means whether it is second house or not house. So these were all which were considered by theoreticians of federalism. And therefore they were developed what we call the characteristics of federalism. It should, as you might have read in earlier years, it should have minimum two sets of government, written constitution, this, that and that was the limit. But with the emergence of new nation, and in fact the countries which adopted federalism thereafter, Australia, Germany, even initially years Canada, India, they all went for what we call a territorial federalism. Later on these things came. But with the emergence of the new developing worlds and the arising of what we call multi-ethnic, multicultural societies and the resurgence of ethnicity in many countries, there emerged a change in the understanding of federalism. Now, as a result of that, in the later half of the 20th century particularly, and now, two things have happened simultaneously. One is there is a greater acceptance of the idea of federalism. That federalism is something which needs to be considered both in theory as well as in practice. So there is what we call a increasing acceptance of the idea of federalism. Now, almost 30 countries now are federal, and in these 30 countries about 40% of world's population lives. So this is a significant number. And then, so they are adopting, they are not calling themselves federal, but they are adopting some sort of what you call a division of powers and all. So there is a what you call acceptance of the idea of federalism, which this new senior scholar on federalism, Professor Kohler, he says the reason is that A, there is quest for political structures that are closer to individual citizens, which is not necessarily ethnic, but there is a quest now because of the process of democratization. There is a quest that the state or the political structure should be as nearer to the people, and therefore Asian, all the people, they are doing multi-level federalism now. That is, the panchayat should also be included as a part of federal system. Then wish for citizens to be more involved in political process. Now, if there is a unitary form of government, people cannot participate at that level everywhere. But now there are different levels and participation becomes wider. The need for people to be able to identify with their state at a time of globalization, particularly in this age of globalization, people are keen to identify themselves with their state, that is maybe part union, sub-state or state. And then creation of scope for cultural diversity within a country. So these are the reasons which are now providing what we call a greater acceptability to the idea of federalism, both in theory as well as in practice. But at the same time, the federal countries, the federal states, they are also facing different types of challenges to govern, to sustain themselves and to remain relevant. These challenges now again come primarily in the area, particularly from the end of Cold War and the process of globalization. You know, people like Binder and Ronald Watts, one of the doyens of federalism, they have given three reasons for the challenges which the present federal countries are facing. The first arises from the impact of globalization, which has tended everywhere to the increased merging of domestic and international policy. The reason is there is a merger of domestic and international policy. Now this merger creates a problem for federal governments. I'll just explain it. This is first. Second, there is prominence of multicultural diversity. Now, in many countries, particularly existing, and then because of migrations from one country to the other, which are taking enormous way, say countries like Australia, countries like Canada. So there is what is happening is prominence of multicultural diversity. So which in other words we are saying that there is now a period of what we call identity politics. And this identity politics also creates certain on the sharing of waters with the Bangladesh, then differences between, and then above all the participation in WTO. So this treaty making power, whose power it is, who has to take decisions, both in terms of when economic issues are concerned in the process of globalization. So therefore tensions between central and states, which a federal system has to cover. And as far as national security is concerned, most of the countries behave as a unitary state. But then there is going to be federal tension. Similarly, for economic issues, now again for WTO, certain states may have different interests, stakes in that. But treaties have to be signed by the central government, union government. These are the types of tensions which the federal governments are facing in terms of national security, in terms of economic development and all those type of things. So because the globalization is not. Second, globalization has gone beyond economic globalization. Now in this process of globalization, we are concerned with technological development. We are concerned with what we call cultural issues. All these issues are very much involved. Now here again, there are two things, again parallel things. So this is what Ronald Watts says, that in this changing nature, there have in fact developed two powerful, thoroughly interdependent, yet distinct and often actually opposed movements. Try to understand. He says that there are not two parallel. They are interdependent as well as independent. So these are, what is this? The desire to build dynamic and efficient national or even supranational modern state. As I had told you, that every state is keen that we should be a supranational, national state, that we are world's first economy, strategically, militarily, that country is very strong. So therefore, and that economic development is not possible because of that. So therefore, this thing. And on the other hand, this desire for progress, this desire for development. So this gives move towards nation state, etc. On the other hand,
There are what you call smaller, directly accountable, self-governing political units, more responsive to the individual citizens. Most of the citizens say, for you talk of any person, they know the name of their chief minister, may or may not be knowing the name of the prime minister. They know their local MLA. Or, in fact, go a little further, they are more concerned with the panchayat. So that is the level where they come into contact with them. So there is this type of contradiction. Then, what we call these diversities. Now, this multi-ethnic, given the press, just for 1 minute to inform you, after Second World War, there was a consensus among liberals and Marxists on one thing. They were different on almost other things, but there was a consensus among them, liberals and Marxists. After Second World War, this cultural, ethnic, religious issues will just go away. What they call primordial identities. Both of them thought that no individual will be an economic individual. For Marxists, now the politics will be class politics. So nothing in that ethnic, racial, etc., etc. And liberals also thought that it will be welfare state and people will be concerned more towards their own economic achievements. But they failed. Both of them proved wrong. And then particularly in this age of globalization. Again, what we find that in this multicultural societies are becoming more and more feature of the late 20th century and the earlier 21st century. So again, there are various reasons before that. We don't have much time. Still, one can particularly, just to give you a hint, the reasons for this is one, the end of Cold War. The end of Cold War, there is a relaxation of somewhat Macbeth discipline that is imposed upon the world in another. Cold War has created this world, capitalist world and communist world. Therefore, we have to be much concerned. Don't talk of anything else, ethnicity, etc. Second, after Cold War, this scenario has gone away. Therefore, people are talking of it, and possibilities of secession, separation, etc. have come very clear. Second is greater consciousness of racism associated with the rice revolution. Here are what you call, in fact, many people have studied what is happening in Muslim world, what is happening here. All these things are not just fundamental. These are reaction to globalization, which globalization is telling the straitjacket approach towards modernization. What is happening is now modernization has been linked with westernization. To be modern, you have to be Western. I don't know what is happening here, but in our days, when we were little senior lecturer, in Delhi University, what was happening was, a girl who is wearing an Indian dress was known as Baggy type. She was not modern. Modern was the girl who is wearing a Western dress. So therefore this idea, if you are listening to classical Indian music, you are not modern, you are classical. So you have to be modern to switch over to MTV, this, that. So there is a reaction against this by a generation. That we want to be modern. Hindus want to be modern, Sikhs want to be modern, the Muslims want to be modern, but they said we have a right to choose our own path of modernization. Westernization cannot be a straitjacket approach to it. So there is a reaction to that globalization which is giving this idea. So therefore this reaction, they then become different type of situation that we start fighting among ourselves. Rise of Hindutva, rise of this fundamental Islam, etc. Ultimately go linked to that. But then again, there's a different type of situation. This fight among themselves. So there is a reaction to all these types of things. So this is what we call giving rise to what we call ethnic resurgence, ethnic assertion, identity politics. So these are all the method to deal with these types of situations. Because there is an idea, so therefore new idea. What is federalism? To be considered in a new way. Not simply division of powers, but in terms of what they call sharing shared sovereignty. Shared sovereignty. So this is all it is about. And similarly, there are what you call new opens and all. So therefore all these are giving new perspective to understand federalism. One is that first thing which is coming up is among the tourists who are doing about living, people, let them take name. First they say that we have to understand that federalism and decentralization are not synonymous. Federalism and decentralization are not necessarily synonymous. Because it is not a question of simply division of powers between two sets of government. They say whenever you talk of decentralization, there is an acceptance of hierarchy. So they start with that federalism is shared sovereignty. So there is no superior, no inferior. If we are accepting the idea of federalism as something to deal with, to manage with, to accommodate different diversities, then this idea of hierarchy, superiority, inferiority is not acceptable. Therefore, the very moment you use the term centralization and decentralization, it means there is somebody who is giving power to somebody. And one who is giving powers can take over those powers. So therefore, they have started now using the term non-centralization. That essential characteristic of federalism after shared sovereignty is non-centralization. That means the powers have been defined, maybe constitutionally or otherwise, and these cannot be changed without the consensus of both the parties. Now there is no provision that like 2/3 of Rajya Sabha passes a resolution or Parliament passes a resolution. No, this has to be a non-centralization idea of federalism. That is what they say. They say decentralization itself, particularly the World Bank, IMF, etc. They are giving that this is understanding which people are talking of. They say that we have to distinguish between federalism and federation. Federalism and federation, which people like Kumar and they have been studying right from the beginning. Even an ideology. Here federalism is an ideology, not just a constitution. That we believe in sheer sovereignty. We believe in the rights of different identities to have to maintain their own identity. So that spirit is federalism. Not necessarily simple constitutional division of powers. So therefore they distinguish that it is possible to a federation, but social diversity has not been formally recognized in the functioning of the system. As I told you when United States of America, or as in 1947 we did in India. We became a federation, but without recognizing. Later on we recognized, but initially these social realities were not recognized. They started being recognized with the process of reorganization of states on the basis of language. Earlier this was federal system, but not in spirit of federalism was there, and that is why in the constitution all these types of provisions that center can do this, all powers, the resolution powers, concurrent list, all those are because of that absence of the spirit of federalism. So therefore what they are talking is this. So therefore federal institutions that respect of a plurality of nations within a single state as a safeguard against the real or potential apprehension of minority action, that is what is required. So therefore in plural society particularly they said this is required. Then as I already told you that now there is again a discussion to distinguish between territorial and multinational federalism. That whether in a particular system territorial federalism sufficient or what you need is a multinational federalism. As I told you, multinational federalism has to take note of the creation of states or distribution of powers, keeping in mind the ethnic, national, linguistic aspirations of the constituents. And territorial, as I told you, has nothing to do. So therefore, like in Australia, Germany, United States of America, national federalism. In fact, it's a major step, particularly during 90s, there is a major step. Canada accepted this idea of two nations within their own constitution. India has accepted it as what we call symmetric. For all states, one constitution, and within that one constitution, relationship, that they have same relationship. For example, Article 356 can be both every, or something else can be all. Asymmetry is little what we call in a federal system, on the other hand, refers to a situation where the diversities within the larger society find political expression. That means all states are not similar, particularly in treatment, as both in law. For example, is Article 370 in India is a case of asymmetry. Okay. Now our Schedule 5, Schedule 6 in the case of India with regard to Northeast, with regard to tribal area. So this is asymmetric treatment. Back to asymmetrical treatment. So therefore they say that if we are accepting the idea of multinational federalism, then that leads naturally to the idea of what we call symmetrical versus asymmetrical federalism. So this is new, what we call is emerging. And asymmetric federalism, again, people like Ronald Barthes suggest, it's not merely a question of what we call identity. It's also a question of economic resources. Sharing of economic resources can, again, there can be a policy of asymmetry with regard to the differentiation in the availability of resources in different states. Now what's in India, you are looking, states are asking for special status. What is that? Treatment of a state by the union for a special status. Bihar is asking, Andhra Pradesh is asking. So therefore this can be both for cultural purposes as well as for the purposes of within a global framework, some sort of providing equity in terms of regional, what you call balancing and all that. So therefore this asymmetry can be there also. Then also there is a question of this asymmetry can be both de facto as well as de jure. Constitution itself can accept, as in the case of, as I told you, Article 370, 371, 5th Schedule, 6th Schedule, but also it can be many times without that becomes some sort of the same separate, but then each state has a. So these are the new issues which are coming up as far as the theory of federalism is concerned, that how now federalism has to be defined. What we mean by federalism? Is it simply a question of what? So therefore the new definitions which are correct, we have a sovereignty of ours. It is shared. It is not necessarily one way that I decide to secede. No, but within the framework, without secession also, there is a shared sovereignty. Then it has to be decentralization. It has to be non-centralization, not necessarily decentralization. Then you have to accept the idea of sociological aspect, the vision, the spirit behind federalism. That is what is being suggested by theoreticians. Then within that, when you are giving an idea of sociological vision, protection for the peoples under the governments of these regional units in the structure and operation of the central government. So this is there. Then the elements of theories belief. To democracy, there is a general belief that this is a. But as far as federalism is concerned, they feel that each country according to its own needs. But these are the basic characteristics. Within that basic characteristic, this federalism is not a state-directed approach for all similar countries. Then it has to be a process dynamic, and also it is a process which must be what we call a democracy. If it is not a democratic process, whatever powers to give to the identity, whatever power to give to those situations, the best example before us is the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, powers to the republics were to the extent of secession. The fact of the situation was that every republic had a communist party secretary of that who was a Russian. So therefore it was Russification, even within the power of secession. The ultimate result was that power of secession, used or no use, but there was Russification. So therefore the federalism without democracy, all theoreticians believe, this is the part of our theory that emerging trend of federalism, that federalism without democracy has no meaning. About that, all these issues will be discussed, I think, by my colleagues here. And meantime, in case you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask.